I'm happy that the NUP is starting to realize that not getting the iPod money, it is not a good decision. We all know that General MUSEVENI wanted to use this iPod funding to amnesty the NUP, but the NUP is becoming steadfast, but also now realizing that not getting the money is not a good decision. Before I proceed, I want to play you a tape of SSENYONYI when he was talking about the iPod and Political Party Organization Act that was passed, asking how they are going to go about it as political parties, because there is a sinister motive from government to twist NUP, but also the leader of opposition, SSENYONYI, is trying hard not for the biggest opposition party, the NUP, to be twisted. In fact, let me first play the tape as SSENYONYI was addressing this. Here's the tape.
We passed the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Act here. It was passed by this House. Many of us were, of course, bothered by the process. Stakeholder engagement did not happen as should have. But you see, that law is now law. Even as we challenge it in court, wherever and so on, it is existing law until we see what court does say. So that law created two, you can call them departments.
First of all, the Political Party and Organization Act was one of the laws that was passed in a manner that was uncalled for. First of all, it was passed in a short period of time without stakeholder engagement, because they wanted to bring NUP into the table. Before iPod, you could be a member of iPod, but you could still get party funding. In a democracy, political parties are funded because they don't want the political parties to be amnested from organizations, terrorist organizations outside the country. So it is a good idea to fund a political party. But the NRM government wanted to amnesty NUP so that they can forcefully bring NUP to sit with General Kaguta Museveni. Because I normally see General Kaguta Museveni inviting leaders of other political parties, and if you see the pictures he sits with, if you see the pictures when he is sitting with them, you clearly see that he is demeaning them. Yet iPod was a platform which kind of brought out leaders on an equal platform, not one being a king to the other. How can you tell me that iPod Summit can go and sit in State House? State House is a State House. They must sit in other places. In fact, in the laws of negotiation, if you want to have an upper hand in negotiating, you bring someone to your house or to your premises. This is what General MUSEVENI wants to the NUP and its leaders. So this is what General SSENYONYI was attacking. Let's continue.
For parties that have no representation in Parliament, the other for parties which are represented here in this House, and they called it iPod. So by virtue of law, we are all conscripted into iPod. We are there by force. That's the law anyway, as it is now, until whatever gets to happen to it. Now, the Ministry of Justice and the Attorney General was meant to bring regulations, of course in consultation with the stakeholders, including us, who are in iPod by force, because that's the law now. The regulations have not happened. We have not been consulted. And yet we hear there is a lot that's happening. There is meant to be an MOU. That MOU is meant to be done in consultation with all the stakeholders. And then the stakeholders are reached out to look at the regulations, to look at the MOU, and either sign or not sign. But that has not happened yet. We don't know if things are happening secretly, because by virtue of law, we are now there by conscription, by force, if you like. What's happening? Will those regulations come? Will that MOU draft be given to the stakeholders so that we look at it and see, is this something we want to be part of? Because you see, we can all be part of something by conscription, but then all stakeholders need to know, okay, what are these regulations saying? Are we okay with them? Are we okay with this MOU? And then we choose to sign or not to sign, but we hear a lot is happening surreptitiously, and even this House, which passed the law, is waiting for those regulations that are meant to give effect to that law. It has not happened. Stakeholders are in the dark. Learned Attorney General. So
that is SSENYONYI, as he was asking, because if a law is passed, okay, there are some regulations to enforce that law. Because in the constitution you cannot define each and everything as how the law is supposed to be conscripted. So what General SSENYONYI is asking is, what is the memorandum of understanding between political parties? But one of the bad decisions that I used to hear is that NUP should not get their funding. How? Because a political party is an entity. It has bills to pay. Okay? It has things to settle. It has day-to-day running on its headquarters. How can you tell me that they are not supposed to get a political fund? Yet it is within the constitution. In fact, one of the things I will table when I go to Parliament in 2026 is an amendment. Any political party that is in Parliament should be entitled to funding without strings attached. Not these things of arm twisting the opposition, wanting General MUSEVENI to stand with Bobi Wine in the same picture. Because what General MUSEVENI wants is, if there's an iPod summit and you see Bobi Wine and MUSEVENI on the table smiling, taking tea and milk, that picture can be sold to the outside world to tell the people that, look, we are engaging. Because iPod, the people who found iPod, the Netherlands Institute, brought it as a tool for transition, and it has ever worked in Ghana. So that leaders can sit together to see how they can transit. Yet on the contrary, General MUSEVENI is using it as a tool to coerce the opposition to sit with them. In fact, he has been successful to that extent. You see how the UPC is handled. You see how DP is handled. For DP, you're not sure if it is an opposition political party or it is in government. You have a minister who says the opposition has done nothing to bring change, yet he serves in the same government. Yet in the 26, he has declared to run for president. Okay? So to some extent, he has been successful, but he has not been successful to also bring the NUP to that enforcement. So for me, I think, one, the leader of opposition is right for asking for this, but two, he should know that refusing the money is a bad idea. Remember, this quarter NUP is not going to get money. The 1.5 billion, if I'm not mistaken, or the 3 billion, I'm not mistaken. Can you imagine if that money came, what it would do in this campaign? Because the money is needed. So the worst idea is for NUP to refuse the iPod money. That's the thing. However, as they also receive it, they must continue representing the common man. As they get the money, they must continue not touching the Satan's hands. Of course, that's my opinion. Remains yours truly, Mr. Makinde Kabye Sulaiman Mawaga, the next MP for Makinde East constituency. I'll see you on another one. Peace.
Makinde East Uchanga Rubanga Bamini Mwesuneko Mufunyo Mubaka Amalayo ayogera Oluzungu ayogera Oluganda ayogera n'Oluchina basibu ne banyabo Shahu Pasifika Oluganda n'Oluganda bale muna jongo baka sokugira ko China muna mujawa Omubaka nga maliza jakuwacha muna jongo baka ebyabikola omubaka swala obazira mu wano muna mujawa Ejja kubeera loosi banenga muliseewo nze nemufuna sooka akapene guno omukisa omubaka abadde kuyalangidde mutagenda kudda kubanga ndowooza oba omugugu gwamuyitiriddeko naye ate yimiridde wano nga ŋŋamba mufuna omukisa kubanga n'ekibiina tukiwewuddeko kubali ku kitebe wadde baga tiketi yanyeeko tiketi yakabye Sulaiman naye kati andekedde waazi ndi wano wentimbaza nenda bayitako supiidi ng'ekizungirizi basewo ne banyawulize maaso gammwe kubanga ensonga nzitegeera wano abali bagezeeko akemmanjukana tebazimba mu ntobazi omaye kati nze ntambudde nnyo obulamu butegeera omubaka ategeera buli ensonga toyi gye bazimba mu ntobazi bagizimba ku ngulu era wokigendamu ebeera bwezolooza kalina mbu yakweraga naye obeera olaba ebifa mu maaso olusi osuulayo gundi nejja nekusakukira lati ewabaawo nettoyi eya tayiro otuulako n'osoma amawulire olumala n'ondiga ne bigenda basebo ne banyaba banesigeko bonna balinga kali katooyi k'omuntobazi ze bitooyi ya tayiro olekewonso ogende wabanaye basebo ne banyaba yenze kennyini asaana bakiikirira mu palamenti neza agenda bakiika palamenti mwesiime koma akafane nga bantu n'abaka palamenti ne bagamba yo yavudde mapige n'envalo baweesa n'ekitiibwa so nyimiddwa wano nga nze kubasaba kaluba maama bataata n'obuwundeefu obusobozi bwenaye akalwa akali najja tutagenda bulungi naate kuno sisuubira tebijjagenda bulungi tujja kwetaawo.
Yes, Kabuye Sulaiman Mawagali. I am putting in my request to fly the NUP flag high in Makinde East constituency so that I can represent the great people of Makinde East. Nkomyewo omulundi ogwokubiri n'obwongo nga bwesera nga busera ebiwandiiko byange mbirese bibino.